your picks, give me your insights. I want the bets from Betting Weekly. Because we win, that is our motto. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win. Don't give us the bird, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best, and we're successful. Come watch our show.
All right, here we go. Betting Weekly Live here with you on a Tuesday. Mike Carver along with Doug Kezirian as we get you ready for all of tonight's action. NBA, NHL, college hoops, probably dive into a little NFL as well. Of course, we've got Wild Card Weekend coming up. Betting Weekly Studios, part of the Bet Rivers Network. Great to have everybody with us here today. Doug, good to see you on a Tuesday. And hey, I was saying at the end yesterday, I want to start the week off good. Nice hot start to the week. Had a little fun. We had a couple double-digit dogs we were working with in the Daily Double last night, and we almost had them both win outright with those big dogs. Good to see you.
You definitely did. And the most surprising result of the night, just definitely a rocking chair win. It's crazy. Your Hornets were up 17 or 18 at halftime, and the live line at Bet Rivers was only about a minus $1.40 for the Thunder or Hornets or whoever to win the game. And it's just, but you know what? They kept the foot on the gas, and I needed a little backdoor action in the second half, but it ended up being the right side. This Illinois State team was impressive. So good. We're back to our normal full week, Monday through Friday, none of this holiday nonsense. And we're back to banging out plus 250 winners.
That's what I thought. I said we just needed to get back to Monday through Friday. And sure enough, here we go. And we'll try to keep things going tonight at the end of the show when we get to the best bets and the Daily Double. We'll kick things off today with the NBA because we do have 6 games tonight across the association. We have the NBC/Peacock doubleheader, depending on where in the country you are. And that will start things off tonight with the Heat in Minnesota against the Timberwolves, just after 8 o'clock East. T-Wolves right now at Bet Rivers minus 3.5. 238 flat is the total in this one.
You know, obviously, every night in the NBA is a little different. So you just got to be careful with some of these games. We saw it yesterday. We just talked about the Hornets game, but then there were other games. It's like, oh, that's obvious, but not every game's obvious. So to me, Timberwolves just handled business in Miami, but the T-Wolves were off a loss. They have not been great off a loss this year. So you just kind of have to play. I think, obviously, you do this in all sports, but more than any other sport, you're playing a lot of amateur psychologists, and looks like Hero's going to play, but this T-Wolves team's just been so shaky and inconsistent. So now they're off 2 wins, and if anything, I'm going to lay it, but it's just a lean because they just drive me bonkers, and it's just so hard sometimes to rely on a team like the T-Wolves. And Finch is in the hot seat or something. It's just been kind of crazy. Everything with this team this year been really, really annoying in that regard.
I did see this as I was looking into this game before. They did add Anthony Edwards as questionable for tonight, foot/injury maintenance for tonight's game against Miami. So do you feel, is this 3.5 right here kind of ant in, ant out, going to move a little bit more?
I think it probably factors in ant a little bit, but it's probably going to go back up to like 4.5 if he's officially in. But I mean, look what Denver did yesterday, right? They're missing 5 of their top 7 guys or something ridiculous, and they win outright as a 15.5 point dog, wire to wire, essentially. I mean, it was tied at half kind of thing. So it's the NBA. You just got to always be careful. Maybe the Timberwolves play better in this particular spot without Ant, maybe for a half or something. So maybe it's one of those things.
Could be one of those things. Man, 2 monstrous dogs won outright in the NBA, Hornets and the Nuggets last night. 2 just ridiculous dogs go out and get the outright victories. The late game with the NBC/Peacock doubleheader just after 11 o'clock East, the Mavs and the Kings in Sacramento. Mavs minus 5.5, 232.5 the total in this one.
I think you have to bet the Mavs. I honestly think this Kings roster currently, with Sabonis hurt, things like that, is the worst in the NBA. Worse than Denver currently without Jokic and all those guys. I think they're terrible. I mean, they're running things through Schroeder, Westbrook. It's just a hot mess. And you got to be careful a little bit just because they're not going to lose every game for the rest of the year, right? So there's going to be spots where they surprise, and they were down 25 against the Bucks at home the other night. Bucks, gave up the lead. I think Sacto cut it to 2, and then Bucks stepped on the gas and won it by 18 or something. I just think you have to fade this team. They're really bad. Now Levine's back, but he's off the bench. I don't think they're well coached at all with Doug Christie. Mavs had lost, I think, 4 in a row, got the nice win in Houston or against Houston, or Spurs was one of those two good teams. So it's not the best spot, and you're still laying 5.5. I just think you have to do it. And Keegan Murray is out for the Kings. He's a big kind of glue guy and he's obviously skilled. So that's enough for me to pull the trigger with the Mavs. Again, Kings are not going to get blown out every game. So there's going to be spots where they don't. Maybe their opponent takes them lightly, and Westbrook actually hits shots in the fourth quarter. They hosted the Celtics last week. I think it was New Year's Day. And it was like a 2-point game in the fourth, and then the Kings went 0 for 10 from 3 in the fourth quarter. So it's a make or miss league. Got to be careful, but I think you're going to be winning a lot more than you're losing if you just bet against the Kings every night.
Yeah, like they've lost 5 in a row, and they have been completely smashed, in most of these games. And the Celtic game was the closest game, and they lost that by 14. I mean, they lost by 27. They've lost by 17. They've lost by 25. They've lost by 41. Like, I'm not kidding you with these. When was the last time they won, Doug, though? December 27th at home against the Mavericks. So this is even a little like...
Oh, there we go. A little angle. I like it. Revenge.
Mavs coming in they were just here a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and they lost the game outright to Sacramento. So that should even give you a little more gas for Dallas tonight, right?
I would think so, as long as not too much time has elapsed. I think PJ Washington might miss tonight, but the key is you're getting Cooper Flagg in. AD is supposed to play as well. So they can just eat, I think, on the glass, especially if Gafford's starting. So there's going to be a lot of rebounds. And again, like Westbrook, Schroeder, even DeRozan, it's not a recipe for success here. Dallas has a coaching edge, I think, with Kidd as well. It is 5.5. It's not 2, Right. So you got to keep that in mind. But I just think you have to bet Dallas, and you have to keep fading this Kings squad.
Yeah, I'm going with you on Dallas tonight. That one will be on the card for me. Late night with the Mavs there in Sacramento. All right, the other games tonight, there are 4 others. We'll start in Indiana. Cavs and the Pacers get together. Cavs minus 6.5, 236 flat the total here.
This is tricky because the Cavs were such a annoying team to bet on. They had the worst record ATS up until about a week ago, and then they kind of put some stuff together. This Pacers squad's been a disaster, right? Worst record in the NBA. Rick Carlisle's comments called it too much petty nonsense, I think he called it.
Yeah.
That his team was, and it was basically like stat chasing, no effort on defense. This Pacers team, overall, if I had to pick one problem with them, it's defense, but then mainly on offense, they just can't string together 4 quarters of solid basketball in terms of scoring. They're just way too inconsistent. Even with a guy like Siakam and Nebhard, they just don't have the automatic buckets. And, it's a lot of huff 3-point attempts, and they'll hang around in some quarters, and then other quarters they'll get blown out. So they've lost 12 straight. Carlisle still looking for that 1,000th career win. Not sure if it's ever going to come. And I think it's a team you're going to have to fade. Now, the problem is this Cleveland team is fairly unreliable. They've been better of late, but still, you're asking them to not only win, but win by 7 or more. They are off a loss, so that's something to consider. I think I'd lay it if I had to, but no need to officially get involved.
I was kind of looking at the total. They played a month ago, and they went well past 250. I mean, 135, 119. Cavs beat them in Indiana. It was a pretty up and down game. 236, maybe a touch light for these two teams tonight. But like you say, they could go through stretches sometimes where they're just not getting any offense whatsoever.
I mean, that's my read. And I thought Carlisle maybe shook the cage a little bit to get him playing some defense. I'm not so sure that's the case. So maybe the over's the play. I've just been a little all over on this one.
Elsewhere this evening, the Lakers are in New Orleans against the Pelicans. tonight. Wouldn't touch the Cavs with a 10-foot pole, Frankie the Fixer.
Ooh, Frankie.
Wants no part of the Cavs tonight. Wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. What about a 20?
Fixer.
Frankie the Fixer getting involved. Lakers are 5.5-point favorites in Nolens tonight against the Pelicans. Is that right? 244 tonight for the Lakers and the Pelicans.
It's a high total. Our Pelicans, have been a little bit of a disaster of late. But if you peel back the curtain a little bit, yes, they've lost 7 straight, but it's really the rest of the game that's done them in. They just don't have the firepower. I like first quarter Pelicans team total over 30.5. Feels a little high, but the Lakers, no defense. They're coming off a game where they started slow and still won. That usually means, I always use this analogy. How many times back in the day did we not really study for an exam or test? And if we did well, we probably were going to allocate the same amount of effort in the next time, right? That's sort of what the Lakers are doing. I don't think the Pelicans kind of get them up for the game. Also, Luka goes off in first quarter, shooting a lot of threes. I think the time of possession is just rapid fire. And Pelicans have been scoring a lot in the first quarter lately. Lakers allow among the 5 worst in terms of points per game in the first quarter. So I think this comes out. Pelicans get the big, LeBron in town, Luka in town, and the Lakers don't play much defense. I think it's going to be back and forth. I bet over first quarter. I wouldn't be shocked if the Pelicans have the lead after the first quarter. So that's why I like the team total. Don't want to worry about their defense. I think the Lakers could go through the motions a little bit. I like over 30.5.
Over 30.5 for the first quarter. And if you wanted to get maybe a little spicy, plus 135 is the Pelican money line in the first quarter. Plus 135.
Look at Amish. The Amish electrician going Pelicant. I like that.
Pelicant against the Lakers this evening. Spurs are in Memphis against the Grizzlies. Spurs, of course, coming off a loss at home. They are 6-point favorites. The Grizzlies are back home after losing a double in LA to the Lakers. Lost both legs of that. This is 238.5 for the total.
Yeah, I think Wendy was at shoot around. I'm not sure what we're going to get here. This is tricky because Memphis is a much better team against the spread as a favorite and not an underdog. And the Spurs are a beast, right? And with Wemby and without. Without him, they just pop, the ball pops, and they bomb. The Grizzlies are okay. They do some nice things. I hate Morant. I think he's such a net negative, especially when you factor in his contract. But they need him sometimes to attack. He's just not that good of a shooter. So this team, I'd rather have Cam Spencer playing point guard because he's a bucket and he can distribute. I love their player development, all the guys they've drafted. Now, some of these guys are high draft picks, like Cedric Howard. I think he went 10th, but love Jalen Wells, love Gigi, some of these other guys, Saldana. I just think it's a little bit of it's a high variance game, so it's a little bit of a risk, and I just not in a rush to get involved here at this number of 6.
Yeah, Wemby was at the shoot around, as you were saying, and he's listed as a game time, so you don't know exactly what you're going to get from him. Morant is listed as doubtful now for the Grizzlies.
That's good.
That's that's good. No job, usually a better thing for the Memphis Grizzlies. They're getting 6 points at home against the Spurs. And the only other one on the slate tonight in the NBA, Orlando, a road favorite in DC against the Wiz. 7.5 for the Magic, 234.5 the total. There's always got to be one ugly game on the card, Doug. Always has to be one.
Yeah, I asked a really sharp pro bettor the other night, and not everyone loves the NBA, and even pro bettors. It's like you got to find the right guys to talk about this league. And I said, "Are the Wizards okay now? Are they decent?" And he just was like scoffing. He's like, "No, they're terrible. Last year they were worse." I'm like, "But this year they've won 4 of 6. Okay. This was a team that started 3-20. They've now gone 6-5. Okay. And a lot of these are in the underdog role, double-digit dog role. 7.5 feels a little high, but I think Orlando's one of those teams where things can go nuts for them offensively, and they just look like they're going to win the NBA championship. It could be this game, but McCollum has been so good for them. But Champagnie, That's all. That's what I call him. I'm sure there's a better name to pronounce it, but his brother, obviously of the Spurs sharpshooter. But Bagley's been good. He kind of plays within himself, rebounds, plays his tail off. Sarr's been better since coming back from injury. I'd be careful betting against this Wizards team. I've done it a little too many times, a few too many times on this show. So I've learned my lesson. I'll say this: Anthony Black's been on just a rampage of over PRA. So keep in mind some of that as well. But I think the market's adjusted enough. So I'm not playing it, but it's something to keep monitoring.
And in other Wizards news, I did see this morning, Doug, as I was going through the news, that obviously with Atlanta and Trae Young allegedly getting together on maybe trying to work out a trade, that the Wizards would be one of those teams that would love to give up lots of assets for Trae Young.
That'd be good for his career.
Be great for him. You know what? I mean, maybe it's what he wants, Doug. Just score 30 points a night, make the play-in every year. Isn't that what he's already doing in Atlanta?
I think career's going to die there, although McCollum's been playing okay.
Yes, McCollum has been playing okay. There you go. 6 games tonight in the NBA, and Bet Rivers also has for you NBA Midweek Live Profit Boost. Players log into your Bet Rivers app and will receive an NBA Live Profit Boost each Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. See the Bet Rivers app or website for full details. NBA Midweek Live Profit Boost. All right. We've got more hoops because we have tons of college basketball tonight. Really good night of college rack as there's tons of great conference games. Why don't we start ACC with Duke and Louisville? This is just after 7 o'clock East, and now a pick'em. Duke and Louisville pick'em at the 162.5. Look out.
Tasty game at the Yum Center. I think, and I've said this before, and it's not like a cop-out, but it really is something to just keep in the back of your mind. Like, if you take the home team in these types of matchups, you're going to win more often than lose. Now, yesterday, I was on Nebraska, right, at Ohio State. But you got to be careful of those situations. I think Louisville's the size. Duke's gets a lot of people's best shot, and you can't be afraid to lose a bet, and you also have to bet a certain amount where it's not the end of the world if you lose, too. So just be careful out there. But you're gonna profit in the long run just taking these home teams. Let me ask you this, Carver. Of all the sports, college, pro, whatever, what's the most significant, you think, home court advantage or home field advantage in terms of impact of the outcome?
I would have to say that it's college sports is definitely the win, and I think it's kind of close for me, Doug, between basketball and football, but I still think a great college sport environment is light years better than any pro environment now. I think that home field in the pros, aside from maybe a couple of spots in any NFL, NBA, NHL, whatever, for the most part, I think you still get it more in college than you get in the pros on both football and basketball. I think
you nailed that, because I agree with everything you've said. I think it's more pronounced in college, and I would lean to the basketball. Just because I think just the thinking of the game and everything, it just requires a lot more influence from the crowd and the officials too. In football, it's big, but I think they're so removed from the crowd. The crowd is secluded, if you will, whereas the court is on top. So I just think these environments and the players are younger in basketball for the most part. Now, they've played a lot of AAU ball and they've traveled, so they're a little bit more conditioned to life on the road and foreign gyms and things like that. Professional level for sure. I mean, these guys have so much technology, so much fitness, so much specialist, on the staff that they can handle all of it. I think it's college hoops. So that's why I think it's just really tough. And I also think the ebb and flow of a game or season, there's so many games. I think they're more willing to sort of roll over, if you will, on the road here in certain situations, because the loss is not going to derail their season.
Well, I think the other also thing, why you're right about basketball, is with football, there's only 5 or 6 road games. And who are you bringing? You're bringing the band, you're bringing all your family, you're bringing a lot of students make the trip. Whereas basketball, you don't really have on a night in, night out basis on the road that element of our band's with us, that you only really get that in the conference tournament where everybody kind of shows up with you. So I think that element of it also adds to kind of a road feel, a road environment. for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, and just the saturation. There's a point where they're willing to pack it in. They're like, we got another game on Saturday at home, whatever.
Right, exactly. Unlike in football.
And when you start getting paid like they do, it's not life or death. I mean, this is all part of the equation. I mean, it's not life or death. It's really not like it used to be, especially in the pros, right? Like they make so much money. And I just think there's an element of, yes, they care, they're competitive, all that, but it's also let's live to fight another day. And I also think at the college level, and I've had pro bettors talk to me about kind of handicapping live betting, and the discipline's not there too, right? If you can transfer out of the program, you don't have jurisdiction over them in terms of being a disciplinarian.
Yep.
And there's a lot of coddling. That's why we see some nonsense celebrating first downs for a team down 30, celebrating a tackle for a team that's down 30. I do think there's a little bit of a business component, and it's not life or death like it once was in like the 80s or whatever. Not that those players weren't paid, but you know what I mean.
Paid legally. Those players were not. Also in the early window, 7 o'clock East, SEC Network tonight, 13-1 Georgia here against Florida. Florida minus 9.5. 174.5 is the total. Of course, Georgia had a great overtime win over Auburn. Florida lost their first SEC game on the road at Missouri, looking to bounce back tonight in Gainesville.
This one's tricky. We were just talking about going on the road. Well, now the underdog's on the road, and it's a big number. I think Florida's going to win. I just don't know if I can lay that kind of lumber. You see the Ken Palm numbers and things like that. This is a team that's pretty legit with the Bulldogs. And the Gators, look, they're the defending champs, blah, blah, blah. But they're peaking, I think, now where they weren't earlier. And they have just incredible size at times, as long as those guys don't get in foul trouble. But just 9.5 is too big of a number for me to get involved.
9.5 is a pretty big number to go and get in the mix. And then technically, this falls into that category I had yesterday, right? Florida's now technically unranked at 9-5, right? They are now 9-5 and unranked. Home against the ranked team. That's a pretty big number, 9.5 in that spot for the Gators. And I got another one of those coming up, Doug, the unranked team favored against the ranked team that I actually do like.
I'm sure there's some stats right now. It's like, is this the biggest for an unranked team has ever been favored over a ranked team?
Very good point. Usually it's like 2.5, like last night, 3.5 tonight with this Wisconsin game. Like,
I think I've seen 5. I think I've seen 5.5 in my memory. 9.5 is. And we're not talking like the first week of the season either. There's some data points here. Now, Georgia's not top 15, but they're top 20.
Yeah.
So
13-1. Playing well, Georgia, as they come into this game tonight. Elsewhere, just after 9 o'clock East on FS1, Big 12 now, Texas Tech at Houston. Really good one for us down at H-Town. Minus 6.5 for the Cougs, 141.5 the total.
Obviously we know the rap, right? The reputation of some of these teams. Houston can't score, rock fight, but they've gotten better offense. They had a game against Tennessee, I think, earlier this year. No, I know they had the game. I'm saying I think it went over. The offense isn't as bad as it once was. Now the defense is still there. They're a contender for sure. I like this Tech team. I've talked about it. I like their coach. I like their demeanor, but I think they're a notch below the Chris Beard squad. Kind of that tenure there in Lubbock when he went to the championship game and lost to Virginia, things like that. So I lean Houston, but man, these points, I'm not in a rush to lay points, especially a number like 6.5.
Kind of like the under 141.5. I know Texas Tech has had some high scoring games this year, but usually these is where Houston likes to pull you into their level. Into an ugly defensive game. And the one time, Texas Tech only scored 56 against Purdue earlier this year in November when they played them. Obviously, another pretty good defensive team there with the Boilermakers. So 141.5 under kind of spoke to me a little bit, Doug, from a total aspect.
I can see that. I wouldn't bet over. Let's put it that way.
No, I would not either. And that's actually down with 142 earlier, 141.5 now in that one. Let's get a few others here for tonight. NC State. We will go to next. They are at Boston College, Chestnut Hill. What a bad scene. Everything with Boston College, their basketball program, their football program, everything has been downhill for about 15 years now. 11.5 point road favorite for the Wolfpack, and Wade 141.5 the total.
Yeah, I'm taking NC State here. So they had a bad loss to Virginia over the weekend at home. They just were kind of dusted from the tip, and it was an 8 a.m. game. Virginia was off that triple overtime game, and NC State was never in the game. Down 8 first time out, and just never looked back. This Boston College team's pretty bad. Okay, they just lost to Georgia Tech by a dozen. It's nothing to it's okay, and they beat Harvard, which is okay. But I have a feeling NC State's going to just open up a can here and take them to the woodshed. Maybe first half's the better play. Maybe split up your bet size in half and half. I just think this has to be a bounce back spot for the Wolfpack.
Has to be there, and they got the right team to do it against. That's for sure. Tonight in Chestnut Hill. How about a little? Let's go out to the Mountain West. I think that's where we have next for Utah State visiting Fort Collins tonight. Air Force tonight. Minus 21.5 for Utah State. 137.5 the total.
Road chalk too. It's not even home, and the altitude. Ooh. What am I thinking? Right. I think this is a bloodbath. Air Force a few years ago had a nice little program. Okay. They'd win like double digits, go like 13 and 19, and then maybe like 6 and 6 in conference play, stuff like this. But the wheels have come off this program. The last 2+ seasons, they are 16 and 61.
Ooh.
Conference play. I mean, we're not exactly talking about the Big Ten here. 3 and 38. Okay. Not good. Okay. They have these little backdoor cuts and all this offense. They just don't score. You know what Ken Palm has them this year? Out of 365 schools, 355. So 11th worst. Okay. They really are inept at scoring. They scored 39 in their last game on Saturday at UNLV, who was missing a bunch of guys with the flu or something like that. And their defense stinks too. So Aggies are really good. They're 12-1, undefeated in conference play, 3-0. They are the favorites right now to win the conference. They should win this by 30. Last year, they beat them by 29 and by 40. There's no look-ahead spot. Yes, Utah State's at Boise in their next game, but Boise's not as good this year as they were in previous years. I just think the talent gap is just too wide here. And ATS, this team's been terrible. 3-11 ATS, Air Force, this year. I mean, so points. I mean, they're catching a lot of points in a lot of these games, and it's not even close. I think Utah State's up 18 at half, 35-point win.
So maybe, do we like maybe also the first half? We could just kind of stack it up a little bit first.
There's no sort of. I usually do first half when there's a motivational edge or something like that, like they're off a big bad loss or something like that. But there's no need. So I'd rather just play 4 quarters. I mean, if they're up 10 at half and they're not covered, who cares? Like. The only thing I worry about, to your point, is if it's a 28-point game with 5 minutes to go and the scrubs are in, and then the Air Force backdoor cuts. But I just think the guys playing for Utah State, their reserves are going to be really eager. And Air Force just doesn't have the horses. They have like 1.5 guys that if they're not hitting, they're really screwed.
It can happen, that's for sure. And obviously Fort Collins would be where New Mexico is going to be tonight. Colorado Springs, the home.
Yeah, I get it mixed up back and forth.
It's been a while since I've done the bus tour of Colorado, Doug, and I've gotten to stop at all the colleges all around Boulder, take my trip everywhere. I haven't done that in a long time. Next up, let's go back to the Big Ten, and I am going to get to Michigan in a minute, but UCLA, Wisconsin. Now, this also kind of falls into, when the line came out yesterday, ranked, not ranked anymore, but still, Wisconsin minus 3.5. And what really comes out to me here, Doug, is UCLA got hammered at Iowa the other night. And I always go back to last year, Mick Cronin belly aching so much about having to go east of the Rocky Mountains with his team now being in the Big Ten. And they just never played well in that spot last year. They're not doing it. It's a very small sample size this year, only one trip to Iowa, but haven't done it yet this year. Wisconsin minus 3.5 for me tonight against UCLA.
There's 3 games in the Big Ten Conference today. We're going to learn a lot about 5 of the 6 teams playing. So I think we already know about Michigan. I'm not worried about Michigan.
Yep. But
the other 5 teams playing, I think we're going to learn a lot tonight. Here we are, early January. Now, why am I being so, grandiose over this? Like, I just think you're going to learn a lot about this UCLA team. Like you said, they just got pounded. And Wisconsin, like they may stink, like they may be just bad. Everyone's going off of their brand name, and
Yeah,
I mean, look, they lost by 30 at Nebraska. Okay, they did hang around Purdue, but they were catching like 5, and they lost by 16. It was never close. So they've beaten some mediocre teams like Marquette stinks. They beat them. Northwestern, congratulations. But they've lost. I mean, they lost by 30 at BYU, lost by 30 at Nebraska, lost by double digits to Villanova. I just don't think Wisconsin's very good. And they're not quite the team we've come to expect. So if they bounce back, all of that, great. So I think they this is a put up or shut up game in my world. And same for UCLA. If they don't get it done, fine. But if they do, it's like, okay, this team's here to stay. Remember, they went to Oregon, they went to Washington, took care of business. Like, okay, so, we're going to learn a lot about both these teams. In terms of a play, I would take the Trojans.
Yale beat the
Bruins. Excuse me. I would take the Bruins.
Yale beat the brakes off Doug's Brownies in men hoops last night.
We knew that was too short. That was free money, didn't we?
It's a smash job for Yale last night.
About 18. I think it was an 18-point win.
I will say, with those other Big Ten games, we know Michigan's been covering all of these just monstrous numbers that they have had so far this year. It's another one, 22.5 against Penn State tonight. I guess why not, right, Doug?
I think we're going to learn about Penn State. Like, are you a team that wants to put up a fight here? I'm not saying they need to win, but they're 0-3 in conference, and they've had some tough, solid performances. That Michigan State game was tight. Indiana was not. That was on the road. But they hung with Indiana. Sorry, they hung with Illinois. They hung with Sparty at home. I think if they want to keep this around 20 or less, I'd be impressed. So what kind of season do you want to have, Penn State? And we'll learn a lot.
The other Big Ten game was Iowa at Minnesota. Of course, Iowa road favorites tonight there, -5.5 with the 131.5. That Texas-Tennessee game also caught my eye in the SEC. That's just after 9 o'clock East. And Tennessee's laying a big number at home against the Longhorns tonight, Doug. So that game also kind of had my eye on.
Yeah, Iowa, look, if they win tonight, they tie or something, the best 15-game start in program history. And they've taken care of business at home. But remember, they went to the Breslin Center, got smoked, went to Iowa State, blew their lead, did cover. But I think we're going to learn a lot about Iowa tonight. Like, if they want to really contend in the Big Ten, okay, they got to win this game. They got to go to the barn, middle of the pack Minnesota team, and win as a 5.5-point favorite. I don't even care if they cover. Minnesota, if you want to be legit, because you got smoked at Purdue, but you beat Indiana at home, you got to win this game. If you want to be a, top tier, middle of the pack program in the Big Ten, you need to win these types of games. Home, 5-point dog-ish, win outright.
Got to be able to do it. And how could we forget the game of the night? 12-1 UCF against 12-2 Oklahoma State in the Big 12. It doesn't get any better than that. Newly ranked UCF getting a little program notoriety there in the hoops. Catching 2.5.
Take Okie State all day in that. The newly ranked is a very dangerous. The newly ranked. So a couple years ago, remember Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Steph Blurry? The Indiana State, the guy with the goggles.
Yep. I know. Yeah.
They had been playing great all year, and then they had their first game ranked. They were, I think, like 28-point favorites. Everyone I respect took the dog. They lost. They almost lost the game outright. Just a lot of reading the press clippings, big. I think Stillwater is going to be bananas. I think Okie State covers this.
I'm with you. Now that really is, like you said, because really UCF's ranked now, so that actually counts with it. Is Butler live versus the Johnnies? St. John's just blew an 18-point lead at home versus Providence a couple days ago. Bad loss for them at the Garden. Now they're a short favorite at the Fieldhouse tonight against Butler in an early in the night Big East game.
I'll relay a text I got in a group thread.
Oh boy,
Rick Pitino said at the beginning of the season he didn't need a point guard. college basketball's changed, blah, blah, blah. And then 2 weeks ago, things aren't going his way. He ripped his assistants for not recruiting a point guard. So do with that what you will. And maybe they're connected. Maybe his assistants convinced him he didn't need a point guard. Who knows? But I'm a little gun shy right now on the Johnnies. They have an offense, and Hinkle and stuff like that should be a good game. I'm not in a rush to lay 4.5 on the road with the Johnnies, but I think, no pun intended, the Bulldogs could be a dead dog today.
Could be tonight against an upset Johnny team after losing to Providence over the weekend. So a very good night of college basketball here on Betting Weekly Live. If you have your eyes on a little plus money bet at Bet Rivers, well, Betting Weekly is giving you a little pizza money to lock it in. Use our pizza money bonus code, Betting Weekly 1218, to get a $10 bonus bet to use on any plus money bet at Bet Rivers. That is Betting Weekly 1218. See it on the screen there. You have till January 11th to redeem the code at any U.S. Bet Rivers sportsbook. So still got a couple days here to get that in. Good for one bet for eligible players only. Must be 21. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Once again, Betting Weekly 1218. The pizza money bonus code for us there. All right. Hockey. Big night tonight in the NHLs. We've got 10 games for us this evening. Had a couple good ones last night. Caps did get that puck line home with a big third period against the Ducks. Quack, quack, quack. Minnesota did let me down in the late night, though. And but we have Seattle. Seattle won again last night. They've won 3 in a row, but here they are back-to-back again tonight, which we will get to in a moment. The big TV game on TNT is the Panthers in Toronto against the Leafs. Panthers short for minus 117 now on the road. Leafs minus 107. Total is a flat 6. Panthers beat the Avalanche the other day after losing to the Rangers in that Winter Classic game. And I think the biggest thing for the Panthers is not exactly who's going to be in the lineup tonight for them, Doug, but the boost that they might have got this morning because Matthew Tkachuk returned to practice, was out with the team, non-contact jersey. That means they're very close to getting Tkachuk back. That alone could put a little more wind in the Panther sails here against Toronto, who, as we know, hasn't been good anyway.
Wow. Look, you nailed some stuff yesterday. I'm going to defer to you on this. Is Toronto just like a regular season team? Are they reliable in the regular season? Because I know about the playoffs. Are they a regular season team?
They have not been reliable this year. They are towards the bottom of the Eastern Conference now. They've had all kinds of struggles over the last few weeks. The one thing I will say for them is that they have started to get Austin Matthews back going. He basically was a ghost for the first couple of months of the season, and he is starting to score some goals. So maybe that will turn them around a little bit. But I think, they got Nylander out of the lineup. They haven't been healthy all year. It's Florida for me tonight if we were playing this game, honestly, in Toronto against the Leafs. Probably the only way that I would look at it. Elsewhere, we do got 9 other games aside. We picked on the Ducks last night, Doug, and I'm going to pick on them again tonight. They look so bad right now. They gave up a ton of goals in that third period, and now they got to go out in the second night of a back-to-back and go up from D.C. to Philly to play the Flyers, who are playing pretty well. Little worried the Flyers are coming back from a long West Coast trip. But this is, again, minus 159, plus 128. I might go puck line again against the Ducks. They're playing that bad right now. Might go after them 2 nights in a row.
Yeah, I'm the betting bully. So I never stray away from something that if it's good, just keep at it. Like there's no need to get away from it if it's working for you.
This next one is kind of a you owe us one. Gauthier in Philly tonight, turning it. I know you got that. Former, of course, Flyers traded him to Anaheim. Going to be a fiery game. Very possible there, Steve. Vancouver and Buffalo owe us, Doug. A couple weeks ago, they played in Vancouver. We had the over that night at over 6. They scored 5 goals in the first 2 periods, and nobody scored in the third. So you know what tonight is? It's payback tonight. Over payback. Vancouver and Buffalo, over 6. Vancouver's also playing the Sabres have the backup in tonight. It stinks. I'm going over 6 tonight with Vancouver and Buffalo. A little payback for a few weeks back.
I like it. Let's chase that money.
Chase it going forward. How about this? Really good game tonight. Colorado in Tampa against the Lightning. Now, you do not get Colorado very often at minus 113. You're usually paying in the 200s for Colorado or even more. The Lightning have won 7 in a row. And the Avalanche, they're for the first time all year, and look, they're still 31-3-7. So let's not act like they're falling off here or anything, but they're actually starting to build up a few injuries. Landeskog's gotten hurt. Taves has gotten hurt now here over the past week. So they've lost a couple guys out of the lineup. Lightning red hot. Maybe this is a night to go after the Avalanche, Doug? Maybe? Or do we take the Avalanche? It's such a short number that we never get them at.
I mean, if the Avalanche keep winning and everything, it's just really hard to bet against them. I'm sorry. I can't believe it. When I saw that the record is what it is, it's just remarkable.
And they lost. They are coming off a loss, only their third regulation loss of the year on Sunday in Miami against the Panthers. They thumped Carolina on Saturday 5-3. I just think you're getting them at a price you never get them at as it's gotten here. So I think I've kind of tossed and turned on that game today. I think it's Avalanche now with that number there. Here's another one for you. You like streaks? I'll give you streaks. Vegas has lost 5 in a row as they head into Winnipeg tonight. The good news for them, Winnipeg's lost 9 in a row as they host Vegas tonight. So we got a couple teams on some long losing streaks. Same thing. I mean, Knights at minus 112. I know they've lost 5 in a row, but they're a much better team than Winnipeg. So I would think maybe a night for a bounce back for Vegas.
I would have to lean the Knights here, but they've been pretty. They're like we were trying to talk about it the other day with some guys. It's like, are they the best bad team or are they the worst good team?
Wow, John thinks Winnipeg breaks the losing streak against Vegas tonight. Look at that. John going in with Winnipeg here. And of course, we have to do late night. Got 2 late night games. I love the Shark Tank game over with Columbus and San Jose. I actually don't mind San Jose with the plus 108 against Columbus. This is Columbus's second trip to the West Coast in the span of about 3 weeks. They were there just before Christmas too, which you don't see very often. A team going to the West Coast twice in less than a month. Sharks are usually a lot better at home than they are on the road. Could be a wild type of game tonight. So I kind of like that late night Shark Tank game. And we've gone after the Kraken. I guess the streak's over because now they win every time on the second night of a back-to-back, right?
Now they're an auto play. They're
playing on the Kraken as even money at home tonight, and they've won 3 in a row. They've 2 of the last 3 times, second night of a back-to-back, they've won. Are we on the Kraken now?
I know, right? Look, you got to pick your spots. But this goes back to what I was discussing with the NBA. The Kings aren't going to lose out the rest of the year, okay? They're not going to end the year with 45 losses or whatever it is.
Right.
So the Kraken at some point will win the second game of the back-to-back, and then it happened. But it's something to consider as you factor in the handicapping. You can't just blindly bet something the rest of your life.
Yeah, no, you cannot absolutely do that. What up, gang? Right there. Steve from Lynn, let's go, boys. Congrats on the daily double last night. Great hit for me. Great hit for everybody. Lose a peg for Petey. Look at that. Lose a peg.
Has that nickname ever been used? I love it. I've never heard it.
Devils in a tailspin. Isles for me. Expect Luke Hughes to score in his own net again. That is another game tonight in hockey. Devils Islanders at the horse track. And the Islanders are about to leave town, Doug, on a 7-game, 2-week-long road trip. It's their last home game tonight before that. They beat the Devils at home a couple weeks ago. And they're getting Sorokin back tonight, too. Their starting goalie's coming back. The Islanders have done all this without Sorokin the last 2 weeks, and he's going back in. So Devils Islanders, another good one for us there this evening. There it is. Hockey tonight. Big night that we do have in the NHL. 10 games for us here. All right. The extra point, NFL, as we head towards the wild card weekend in the playoffs. We're going to be talking about it all week long. I know we're going to have Chris Massaro tomorrow join us with college football playoff and his NFL wildcard best bets. But me and you haven't really gotten a look at a couple of these lines here for this week, Doug. And the first one that kind of, in terms of just jumping out at me, and they are tough, all 6 games. That Sunday night game with the Chargers and the Patriots, 46 the total right now, feels like the type of game that maybe Harbaugh is going to try to take the air out of the ball a little bit, try to run the football, try to limit possessions. I don't think he wins the game, but, Herbert got the week off last week, shouldn't be as banged up as he's been. Kind of feels like the Patriots win, but the Chargers are going to kind of give them a fight, especially with their good secondary on D too. Under 46.
I go back and forth in this game. I got to look at the weather reports. I mean, we could be talking about a bad offensive line, a banged up quarterback, and a bad just going on the road here. And this Patriots team is pretty good, right? Like, we know about the schedule strength and everything, but they handled their business. And Drake May, obviously an MVP candidate. The hook is really bothersome. Harbaugh is an excellent coach, but so is Vrabel. Vrabel's really good. I would lean Patriots here. Herbert's going to have to pull a lot of rabbits out of the hat for him to win or cover this game. I really think the Pats are pretty solid and reliable. And I just like how May moves in the pocket, can extend drives.
Yeah, Patriots now 3.5 in that one for the Sunday night game. Elsewhere, I like what you had here for the theme for this weekend. Heads should roll, Doug. Heads should roll this weekend.
Look, who was the first coach fired Monday morning? It was Raheem Morris.
Yep.
So he literally finished tied for first place in his division. Because of a tiebreaker, he did not go to the playoffs. So if the tiebreaker was like something else, he'd be retained for next year. So I just think that other teams should realize how close their coaches were to missing the playoffs. Thus, I think McDermott's got to go if he doesn't make the Super Bowl. Things like that. I think some of these other coordinators, some of these other coaches need to also go if this happens. So I'd be very careful thinking you've got it made. Remember, the Giants made the playoffs, and then they gave Danny Dimes the extension. That was bad. I think you want certain outcomes. So I also need to think about now, none of the other, but I bet you Sirianni's days could be numbered, right? They feel they've won despite him. So I just think that's part of the equation here with some of this. And then also just coordinators and some of these other, who's ever the offensive line coach for the Chargers needs to go after this season. I know they've had some injuries and things like that. So I just think more sort of changes need to occur in the NFL, including the teams that did not make the postseason.
It's funny because, since me and you have started doing this, and I told you that I'm a Bills fan, and I told you how I feel about Sean McDermott. I've done that several times here on Betting Weekly Live. All the people that I listen to and talk to and whatnot in the Buffalo area tell me there is no chance that Sean McDermott is out, even if they lost this game on Sunday to Jacksonville. No chance.
Why?
That he is. Doug, that's a great question. That is an outstanding question, but apparently the culture there that Terry Pagula loves, what him and Brandon Beane have done and what they've built there, blah, 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 blah. And they don't think there's any chance that Pagula would get rid of Sean McDermott.
So, the flip side of these things is you got to be careful what you wish for. Sometimes grass is not greener, and the next guy you bring in, all that. You should have the right guy sort of pegged or whatnot. But you've been out-coached in a lot of games. Now, I had no issue with going for it for 2 the other day. Like, I'm not results-oriented. Like, obviously, the Josh Allen pass where Kincaid – I realize there's been some coin flip stuff, but the 13-second game was strictly bad coaching. He's made other bad decisions, and I've never felt the Bills had the better coach going into a lot of matchups. Dable tweaked when he was the OC, tweaked a lot of the offense under Allen, but I think they also had better weapons. So I put a lot of this on McDermott, but I also think the team's not prepared in some games, and Josh Allen's covering up a lot of mistakes and deficiencies.
Always start slow defensively too. Always start slow defensively and then make the adjustments at half and try to get themselves back in the game. How about starting fast defensively, getting some stops, putting the ball in Josh Allen's hand with still having a 0 up on the board. That's also possible too, if you can get there. And the Eagles at 4.5. Now that was the other one Eagles 4.5 now against the Niners. That one, I've been scratching my head with that game since
I
Sunday
liked it
night
at 3, and I said it had to be 3.5. I'm surprised it's gone north of 3.5. I just think at 3.5, you got the West Coast team and the cold weather, all that stuff, and this Niners defense leaves a lot to be desired. If the Eagles could do anything offensively, they should handle their business. But at some point, it's too many points, and this Eagles offense, you just don't know what you're going to get. The defense is pretty gnarly. I actually probably look at the under here. I think this could be a 20-10 type of game, 20-13.
I was feeling that too. You kind of saw what a really good defense can do against the Niner offense last week with Seattle. You kind of see.
Yeah, there are a couple coin flip plays, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, the ball going in inside the 10, the ball going off McCaffrey and into the guy's hands. You can't predict stuff like that. So there you go. All week here on Betting Weekly Live, we'll be talking about NFL Wildcard Weekend. And I'll mention one more time, of course, tomorrow, Wednesday's show, Chris Massero, Pro Sports Bettor, will be back with us at the top of the show. We'll get his plays for the college football playoff, semifinal games, of course, Thursday and Friday night, and all the wild card games Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. All right, it is time for the best bets, the Daily Double here on Betting Weekly Live. I told you during the hockey segment, I've got a little bit of a vendetta here. We won last night with the Hornets in Illinois State, and I am going back. Because they owe me. We should have had it a few weeks ago. They had 5 goals in the first 2 periods. Buffalo and Vancouver in the Below tonight. Over 6. Lots of goals for the Canucks and the Sabres. Let's roll, Doug.
I'm going to the college basketball game I alluded to, and it's going to be Utah State laying the big number, minus 21.5. And Air Force just is that bad. They're 3-11 ATS. One of the worst offenses in all of college basketball, and their defense is bad. So usually they get into these rock fights. So you got to be careful laying big wood against a team like Air Force. But, Utah State scored 100 on them last year. I'm not that worried. I think this gets away from the Falcons, even at home. I think Utah State's going to open up a can.
So for tonight, the Daily Double on Betting Weekly Live. Buffalo and Vancouver over 6 in the NHL. Utah State laying the hammer, 21.5 against Air Force in Colorado Springs. Look at this, and here's another good sign. I think, isn't this the same number? It was 253 last night. Plus 252. It is the same number. Plus 252 was last night. The exact same number. It's a sign, baby, for the Daily Double tonight on Betting Weekly Live. And I'll also tell you one more time, because that is a plus money bet, by the way. If you have your eyes on a plus money bet at Bet Rivers, Betting Weekly is giving you a little pizza money to lock it in. Use our pizza money bonus code, Betting Weekly 1218. Get a $10 bonus bet to use on any plus money bet at Bet Rivers. That is Betting Weekly 1218. You have until January 11th to redeem the code at any U.S. Bet Rivers sportsbook. Good for one bet for eligible players only. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. That is Betting Weekly 1218. All right, Doug. Tremendous job. As always, we'll be back tomorrow on a Wednesday. As we mentioned, Chris Massero will be with us. We've got lots of NBA, some pucks, more college hoops, and we'll keep looking towards the football games coming up this weekend. Daily Double one more time tonight. Vancouver, Buffalo over, and Utah State minus 21.5. Mike Carver, Doug Kezirian, Betting Weekly Live, Betting Weekly Studios, part of the Bet Rivers Network. Have a great night, and we will see you back here tomorrow, 4 p.m. East, 1 p.m. Pacific.